Well, good morning. It is Saturday, May 2nd. When we go through the cycle of the church year and prepare for worship, prepare for preaching, and there is a device called the Revised Common Lectionary. It is a 3-year cycle of chosen scriptures for each Sunday. This Sunday, one of the passages chosen comes from the book of Acts. Acts is the beginning of the church community. It is the unfolding story of how believers came together, some of the decisions they had to make, some of the conflicts they encountered. But it is a story of the developing of the beloved community. And in a few moments, I will be reading from Acts chapter 2, beginning at verse 32. Before I do that, I want to share something about beloved community. It is an honor and a privilege and challenging at times to be a pastor. In the system of which I am a part, the United Methodist system, we trust that the Holy Spirit works through the bishop and the cabinet to make those decisions for us as to where best we can serve and care for people and communities. I have been blessed, and often blessed for a significant period of time, to be engaged in the lives of people in worshiping communities. It is one of the hardest things for a pastor when that time comes to leave. We have watched families' life stories unfold. We have fallen in love with communities and with the people. And we have often watched the seasons of life unfold in the life of someone. Last night, I got a phone call. It was a former parishioner. And all of a sudden, COVID-19 hit. It hit hard. The young man that the call was about was one that I had known and still know well. Kept up a little bit through his life. But I watched him go from a teenager, young teen, into being a young man. His mother called me yesterday. He had been diagnosed, as well as his wife, with COVID-19. And at that point, he was at home. Yesterday morning, that changed. He is a son, a husband, a father, 32 years old, and he had a stroke. Paying attention to the news, we know that they're understanding that blood clots seem to be a part for some individuals of this COVID-19. It really brought home to me being a part of the beloved community. Those people that I am given the gift to journey through seasons of their life never leave. I leave. They are still always a part of me. So, as you say your prayers, if you could please include Adam. He has grown into a church leader, in that church that many years ago I was the pastor. He is a young man of deep faith, deep commitment to his church, to his family, to his community. And we will pray that with the blood thinners and all that they are doing, that he will come through this. We are part of a beloved community. We are called as people of faith. We express in so many different ways. But as people of faith, to maintain that sense of care and concern. So I would like to share with you this passage, Acts 2, beginning at verse 42, and this is in the Common English Bible. The apostles devoted them, let me begin again. The believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the community, to their shared meals, and to their prayers. A sense of awe came over everyone. God performed many wonders and signs through the apostles. All the believers were united and shared everything. They would sell pieces of property and possessions and distribute the proceeds to everyone who needed them. Every day they met together in the temple and ate in their homes. They shared food with gladness and simplicity. They praised God and demonstrated God's goodness to everyone. The Lord added daily to the community those which were being saved. Those are action steps of love, aren't they? Together, they were continuing to learn, continuing to become closer and closer to God through these teachings of Jesus. They took the model that Jesus gave of caring for those who struggled, who might do without help. They did everything they could to overcome the structures of their society that had divided greatly the haves and the have-nots. Sadly, excluding the have-nots with what they felt was permission, that it was God who was judging them and placing them in the circumstances in which they lived. The beloved community would not accept that. We are seeing an invitation to be the beloved community. To be sure our basic needs are taken care of, and then look around. How can we help someone else? And there's very, very many levels of need. Of course, we begin with the basic needs: food, shelter, clothing, safety. And we have become aware that there are many for whom that is not stable, that is not secure. We also know that there are those that this social distancing has made it a deeper struggle to deal with emotions, with depression, with blues, lots of different things. And we find that we can be the beloved community by being emotional support. And we know there are needs for people to make sense of the world in which they live. And that's where spirituality and faith come in. Being the beloved community is also sharing that. Never in a way that judges, never in a way that's forceful, because we worship a God who has given us freedom to choose or not choose. But we do have a responsibility to live out our faith. And we may be the ones. You may be one who is in need in one of those areas, or even others I haven't mentioned. One of the hardest things to do is to reach out. I pray that God will give you the courage to do that if there is a need you have. And we also are encountering the emotional side in grief. We know for some it is a loss of life. For all of us, it is a loss of security. We can't take life for granted. We can't take health for granted. And that is beyond unsettling for all of us. And we grieve the things we miss. Being with family and friends. Being free to go as we choose to go. We're used to that freedom. And we grieve the security of not always being sure how we will weather this financially. Multiple layers of grief we encounter. For some of us it is, as I received yesterday, a phone call that catches us up short, that sends us deeply into prayer, but also brings some memories. His mother and I finally in our call got to laughter. Even in the midst of concern, even in the midst of pain, even in the midst of uncertainty, as we recalled some memories of this young man as a younger boy. That is the fullness and wholeness of life. So today, what I would like to share with you is an acknowledgement of that grief. NPR, National Public Radio, has what they call the Poetry Project. And they gathered snippets from many, many different poets. And then I'm only going to be reading segments of this long poem that they put together. But it is available on NPR, MPR, the full thing, and the listing from all over the country of the poets that contributed to this. We have read in Acts about the beloved community, and it is an invitation to be that beloved community. You know, I don't know the people I reach. I don't know where you are in your faith journey. You may still be a seeker, trying to know, to be touched, all the way to someone for whom faith has just been a part of who they are, and everyone in between. We do need that foundation. I believe it strongly. We need that which does not change in the midst of all the shifting sands of life. It is a teaching that Jesus gave: do not build your house on the shifting sand, but build it on the rock. For me, that rock is Jesus Christ. So I'd like to share with you some of these words from these poets. What I'm learning about grief is that it sits in the space between laughs, comes in the dark, steals the warmth from the bed cover threads, sleep within tendrils, is a hauntingly familiar song, yet I can't remember the words. What I'm learning about grief is that it rolls like a heavy mist, settles into the crevices, lingers on the skin, visits, then visits again, lurking under my chair. And when I'm not watching, reaches out her tiny claws and bats at my ankles. Grief sneaks up on you. You will find yourself on a couch with a well of rage living in the pit of your stomach and nowhere for it to go, and it chokes you. What I'm learning about grief is that it can come like a whisper or storm through loud as thunder. It leaves a hollow to be filled with a new planting. And when you wake for another day that feels oddly the same as the last, it crawls right back into your lap. an ocean of tears. So you vary the crawl with the butterfly, the backstroke with the breaststroke. At some point, drowning is no longer an option. What I'm learning about grief is that it is a language, suffering as its own speech. It will not go away because you do not look it in the eye. Hard times call for soft people. There is a softness and stillness in staying home, in distractions deleted, in a togetherness that stretches great distances. What I'm learning about grief is that it can turn you into someone you don't want to be, can help you become someone you never thought you could be, is that it transcends color, race, religion, gender. It is anger and denial. It is chaotic laughter with splintered memories. It is jagged cries and single tears. It is numb and indifferent. It is the pinprick of life, promising a so slow semblance of normality returned. What I'm learning about grief is to acknowledge its presence, its many forms and guises, then to use it while reaching out, connected to everyone who is braving the same storm. What I'm learning about grief is that it is still learning about me, learning that I am strong and resilient. If the trees can keep dancing, so can I. And that is the title of this. If the trees can keep dancing, so can I. Let God give you the courage if you need to reach out. And if someone reaches out to you, just listen. That's what they need most. May you be blessed. Amen.